All right, welcome to Divisive Issues, a controversial comic book podcast where
The podcast isn't controversial.
Mark Millar fans might find it controversial after this episode.
Well, this is
and in case you haven't got it yet, this evening we will be reviewing the Mark Millar classic, Wanted.
the book, not the movie.
Sure.
Unfortunately.
Is there a difference? Oh, I'm Joe, by the way.
I'm Sly.
You all know who I
And
am.
I'm Ryan Lynch. This could be somebody's first
Ryan keeps
episode.
insisting on this, but I'm like...
That's what you do. That's how radio works.
Anyway, we're live here from the Josiano Studios.
Have you ever listened to a podcast, Joe?
What's a podcast?
Wait, we're recording this? Oh, fuck.
No.
All right, well, let's just dive right into it. Opening thoughts about The Wanted.
So elevator pitch us first, Sly.
The elevator pitch of Wanted is there's a guy who's a total fucking loser named Wesley Gibson.
In like the real world.
In like the real world, he has a shitty job. His girlfriend's fucking his best friend. And he finds out that he's actually a supervillain. His dad was a supervillain, his dad's dead. And now he inherits all his dad's supervillain shit. And he's part of a supervillain cabal now.
Yeah, and he didn't
Yes.
know, and the world at large doesn't know that supervillains exist.
And all the superheroes are dead, killed by supervillains.
Yeah, and they've been dead for like 20 years.
Yeah.
1986.
Yeah, which we'll talk about that, I'm sure. So
Do you recommend this book, Ryan?
I haven't seen the movie yet. From what I hear, the movie's way better.
It is. I've seen the movie. Go watch the movie.
Spoilers
for my recommendation. Go watch the movie.
I have watched a lot of movies based on Mark Millar books, and I have yet to find one that the book is better than.
It's funny because Alan Moore, he's like the anti-Alan Moore because Alan Moore's movie adaptations are usually worse than the books. Mark Millar's are usually the opposite. He's like the
Yeah.
anti-Alan Moore.
Well, I mean, most movie adaptations are worse than the books.
But it's so funny how consistently worse the books are than the movies in Mark
Yeah.
Millar's case.
So I wouldn't really recommend this to anybody unless you like really, really edgy books that are just edgy to be edgy, which some people like that. That's fine.
If you're a teenager and you're
Yeah, if you're a teenage boy and you want like that cursing, edgy, like
if you like a lot of homosexual slurs, you like
Yeah.
this book.
So if you want to read like just like aggressively immature, like supervillain violent stuff, go right ahead.
What about you, Joe?
I'm gonna recommend it because I know you two, I think, are because you guys have read Kick-Ass. So you've seen this side of Mark Millar before. I have not seen this side of Mark Millar before.
Really?
And this is unlike anything I've ever read before in my life. So I can recommend it for that as long as you don't take it seriously.
See, it's really interesting that you said that because I feel like with a lot of this Mark Millar book, like a lot of the Mark Millar like non-mainstream stuff.
But remember, I'm not saying this is good.
Yeah, but like I feel like when I first read some Mark Millar, like when
Yeah.
I first read like Ultimates, which I actually do still really
Yeah.
like, and when I first read like Kick-Ass, it had more of an edge that I was like, oh wow, like this is pushing the envelope and stuff. But now I've read so much that it seems so derivative.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna compare it to some other Mark Millar stuff later in the show.
Yeah.
So we've done Mark Millar before, but just to clarify, Civil War and Trouble are not really Mark Millar books. This is our first.
They're
real-
Marvel books
Yes.
that Mark Millar
This is our
wrote.
first creator-owned.
Yeah,
Mark
this
Millar
is
book.
this is a Mark Millar book.
Yeah.
This is Mark Millar written all over it.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, I love Mark Millar's Marvel work.
I love his DC work too. Red
It's
Sun
great.
is amazing.
Yeah. So this is his first independent thing that I read. And all of like the great character work and nuanced like writing.
Yeah.
And even some of the fun, like the fun of Trouble. None of that is in this book.
Yeah.
This book is cursed. It's like the first time you hear it. Funny enough, it's like the first time you hear Eminem,
Very appropriate.
who one of the characters of this book is designed off of. It's the first time you hear Eminem, and you're like, oh my god, he's cursing.
He's so
and
edgy.
Yes, just like that. And then as the book goes on, it kind of loses the sharpness that it once had, and where you once maybe like listened to it as like a great, like maybe you listen to like, you know, not to bash anyone who likes Eminem, but I kind of find his early stuff to be like, oh, this is great when I was, you know, in 5th grade and this all seemed edgy and stuff. And now that I'm older, I'm just kind of like, yeah, get over it. Stop cursing. So like actually say something. It's so weird where I feel like I read his mature stuff.
Yeah.
And
feel
now like I felt like this, when does this come out?
2008ish.
Yeah, like not that long
So
ago.
this was after this was after Civil War?
Yeah.
2008.
And this is after his Spider-Man run, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it feels like a bit of a regression, to be honest.
I feel like with what Mark Millar does is he wants to kind of deconstruct comics and push the envelope really far.
I like Alan Moore, ironically.
Yeah, like Alan Moore. But I feel like when this is actually why I liked Civil War so much more when we did it on the show was because that was one of my first Millar books, and then I read this stuff and I kind of projected some of his immaturities onto Civil War. That I was like, oh, it's more preachy and pushy. And then when I reread it, I was like, no, this is reined in. This is pretty held back.
I actually had the same issue. Like I had to readjust my evaluation of his Marvel DC work because I read Wanted before I read anything else. I read this before Civil War, so this determined my interpretation of Mark Millar, and I had to be more fair as I went on and realize no, he's not like this all the time. He's like this when he's doing his own independent stuff.
So one of the things that I want to talk about Mark Millar before we get to the book, because that's what the show's supposed to be about. He is a writer. I think he is the comic book writer who has had the most movie adaptations, right?
Aside from Alan Moore, probably.
Even Alan Moore has
Watchmen, From Hell.
Oh, I forgot about From Hell.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah. So Millar's had, if he doesn't have as many now, he will soon. Because he writes a book, and I think the most recent book he wrote got a movie deal before it even came out. Like his movies are great.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying he makes the movies.
Not the movies are great because of him. People make great movies based off what he wrote.
Like I am not a fan of Kick-Ass the book. I love the movie. I didn't like Kingsman at all, but the movie was one of my movies of the year. It blew me away. And I hear Wanted is great.
It is great.
Our previous co-host Ariel says it was one of her favorite movies when she first saw it.
I agree with Ariel. Like I said in the BBS episode, she has a good head on her shoulders.
I've never seen that movie, and one of the first questions I asked was, how much of this comic made it into that movie?
And the answer is barely any of it.
So we'll talk about the movie later.
Yeah.
But why do you think he makes such good adaptations?
Because he has such good concepts. Like the concept of Kick-Ass is, what if a superhero is like in real life? And
it was like a teen
Yeah.
Spider-Man type character that just went out and did it himself.
And he got the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
And how would real superheroes fight? Like Hit Girl, and how brutal would you have to be actually be a superhero in real life?
Yeah.
And Wanted, this movie doesn't live up to the concept in the supervillain aspect, but that's a cool concept. The supervillains ruling the world aspect is cool. But the movie focuses more on the idea of, what if you had a secret destiny and you're living your life, wasting it away, and what you have to choose? Would you give up your mundane life to live a more dangerous life?
I think Millar has brilliant concepts. I think he's a really, really good plotter. And we used to talk about this all the time. I don't know if we ever brought it up on the show, but there are a lot of writers that do their best work when they're kind of reined in.
Yeah.
I think the most
I think majority of writers.
Most mainstream example we give is George Lucas.
Yeah.
When he made the first three Star Wars movies, they're brilliant. And then when he was allowed total free control, the prequels happened.
Well, he was always allowed. I mean, they were his movies.
But Empire wasn't directed by him.
No, that's what I meant though. Like he's kind of always been the buck stops here of Star Wars, but he wasn't making them by the first three he didn't make on his own.
Yeah, he had other editors, he had other writers, he had other people.
And I think Millar does really, really great concepts. He's a great plotter, but I think one of the biggest disappointments about a lot of his writing is he is not a good scripter.
Or dialogue writer.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, his dialogue is so immature, and like I think if you took out his dialogue and somebody else scripted it, this could be a great book. But it comes out it's like it's written by a 12-year-old who's mad at his parents. That he's like, yeah, well, you know what? Fuck you, Mom and Dad. I'm going to write whatever edgy stuff I want. And it almost feels like Baby's first punk band kind of dialogue.
It's like Joe says, like an Eminem fan writing a book, I guess.
Yeah, and it gets so in the way, where I can't take any character seriously, even characters that have noble causes or intentions in any of his like edgier work. I can't like any of the characters. The characters I find insufferable, and their dialogue makes me like not want to hang out with them, let alone spend any time with them on the page. And he's one of those writers that works so well when he has somebody else telling him no.
Yeah.
Grant Morrison, we say that a lot about too. I'm the biggest Grant Morrison fan here by a lot. Most of his best work is when he has an editor being like, maybe that's a crazy thing you just did.
So we should briefly mention J.G. Jones, who I don't know that well, but you guys do apparently.
Okay, J.G. Jones is the artist on this
He
book,
is?
and I love his art. He
too.
did all the covers for Y Last Man. He did all the covers for 52, and he did the first half of Final Crisis.
First 5?
I think the first five issues. And the reason why I wanted to bring up Final Crisis briefly is because Final Crisis has a very similar theme of what if the villains won and ruled the world. It's more of a superhero story set in a universe, but it has the same kind of.
I kind of wish Final Crisis was more like this, though.
I could see that. No, I could see what you're saying.
No, that was a joke.
Oh.
Don't.
I
meant,
okay.
No.
I meant with like like the edgy.
Okay, I thought you meant like
So
that
be like, he'll
Yeah.
fuck your shit like Luthor!
I thought you meant like they
Yeah.
fleshed out the world a little bit better.
Batman's like, eat a dick, Joker!
No, yes, more like what Sly's saying.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, never mind. I missed
Dark
the joke.
side with your big shithead.
And I feel that J.G. Jones's penciling has a darker, edgier style without being like when we talk about like Ruins, which is almost hard to follow with
Yeah.
how dark it is. I feel like his penciling.
It's very gritty, like very.
It's gritty but clean, if
Yeah,
that makes any sense.
no, absolutely,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
And
yeah.
it feels very probably for like something that Millar probably expected to be adapted to a movie, like
Yeah.
along with other stuff.
For a cinematic adaptation.
Yeah, and same thing with Kingsman with Dave Gibbons. It looks like they're trying to make a movie out of this, and that's why I think his adaptations are so successful because stylistically they are there.
Yes.
And Millar works with some of the best artists in
Yeah.
the business. And I think J.G. Jones was a perfect fit for this book that I hated.
So, getting into this book
Yeah. So the book opens.
with a perfect opening page.
Yeah.
So, the book opens up with a woman fucking a guy. And this is important because the woman having sex with this guy is the main character's girlfriend, and the guy she's having sex with is the main character's best friend.
And you mentioned this earlier that Mark Millar has a cuckolding fetish.
He has a cuckolding
Can we,
fetish.
can we stop?
What?
Damn it.
There's no way he does not have a cuckolding fetish. Can we just...
Here we go. Here comes the sly rant about the cock.
We talked about it already. We don't have to talk about it again. But here's another example of it.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So this guy gets cuckolded, coincidentally. Nothing implied there.
So Wesley's the main character.
Wesley's the main character.
Wesley, what's his last name?
Gibson.
Gibson.
He's aware that his best friend is fucking his girlfriend, and he's kind of letting it happen. But they think they're getting away with it. And he has a shitty job.
Do they ever say what his job is?
Assistant to the associate editor on Hypo.
Oh, that's right.
Today.
He's on like it's like a hypochondriac magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says, "This is me taking shit from my African American boss," which is very relevant that she's African American.
Is it? Just because
Yes.
she makes jokes about him being white later.
Yeah.
No, it's relevant because he's pretty racist.
He is
He's-
pretty racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This Wesley's a piece of shit. Like, yeah, he has a shitty life, but he's also a piece of shit. So you don't feel bad for him.
Yeah. Now, normally we add a lot of colorful, curse-ridden dialogue to these books. A lot.
This no need here.
No need here. Yeah.
And speaking of him being a racist, a bunch of black guys harass him while he's walking from work.
No, I think they're Mexicans because he calls them like Chico's gang or something.
Oh yeah, cholo fucks.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. He calls them cholo fucks.
Yeah.
Because that's how nuanced this book is.
I find that Wesley Gibson's a weird character because he has like the role of a very nerdy, stuck-up office guy, but he dresses in like like a Eminem.
Yeah.
He looks like Eminem,
Yeah, he's based on Eminem.
He's purposely designed to look like Eminem.
and he has an afro. What the fuck?
Does he have an afro?
Kind of.
Cultural appropriation, bro. The most racist thing of them all.
His hair is weird either way. It's like looks like a blooming onions at Arby's or something like that.
I would also like to point out, at this point, we get to learn his usual sandwich,
Yeah.
which sounds delicious.
Crusted salmon over sourdough with mustard greens and wasabi mayonnaise.
Sounds pretty good to me.
He needs to prove that he's different from the herd.
I really want Ryan to stop talking about sandwiches on
Sorry.
the podcast.
I love sandwiches.
Sandwich podcast.
Keeping the
sandwiches.
streak 2 episodes. Let's see if you can make it 3 next week.
So and not only is he harassed by these guys, when he comes home, this old guy sitting on the steps always says, "Cheer up, Wesley. It might never happen, kiddo."
He keeps saying that. What does that mean?
I guess he's saying, "Cheer about your life. You might never become successful."
What might never happen?
You getting not a shitty life?
I don't. He says it a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. But one thing.
It's fine. He'll die anyways. It's okay.
There's a lot of narration in this part, and is it supposed to make us feel bad for Wesley?
I think it's supposed to, but you don't. You
I
really
don't at all because
I-
he's an asshole.
I don't. I think this book is purposely designed. I think this is just a book about really shitty people.
But as
That's
the
how.
book-
That's how you could describe almost every independent Mark Millar book. This is a shitty
There-
book about shitty people.
but
There
like,
you go.
Who am I
Well,
supposed to root for?
I don't know. I feel like you're just kind of supposed to enjoy the ride.
Well, I didn't. The only person I rooted for was the page count because I was like, this is almost over.
So then he points out like his dad left him when he was 18 weeks old.
Okay.
Very specific.
And he says, they look into my baby blues and realize he just fathered one of the most insignificant assholes of the 21st century. And cut to his dad. And his dad's having a gay orgy with these two guys.
No, he's just filming it.
He's just filming.
He's watching and jerking, I think.
Yeah. They say you can jerk off. We don't get to see him jerk off.
He says
we don't get that privilege.
Yeah. And he has to pay up front if he wants to join in.
Yeah, so he's paying them
he says,
to fuck in front of him while he films it, and they say, if you want to touch us, you gotta give us more money. And he's like, nope.
Up front, though.
He's like, I'm not a homosexual, understand. In fact, I've bedded over 5,000 women in my 58 years. They say quite the opposite, I believe. I just
His voice is way too classy for this scene of him in a creepy
No,
robe.
I love it. Sean Connery, read away.
I just like to do this gay thing every other year to whet my appetite for pleasure of the fairer sex. There's nothing like the perfumed touch of a woman after 12 months of heaving, sweating manflesh, arriving between one's sheets, you know.
So he's so straight that he fucks dudes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the guy
checks out.
And like the guy says, like, it's cool if you want to just get yourself off, but if you want to change your mind and want to touch us and stuff,
Oh, the voice makes it sound like he's a little boy. These are adults.
Okay, they're
The thing is, this I think is indicative of Millar's views on a lot of things, where his views on sexuality are so like a 13-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Where like he uses a lot of homophobic slurs later on, and I feel like he's saying like this guy is so like
sexed up
that like how decadent that he like likes to watch men have sex, and like it's so.
What a sophisticated gentleman.
So, but before they start their gay sex thing, a sniper starts shooting them through the window and kills the two gay guys and almost kills Wesley's dad. Spoilers, he's Wesley's dad.
Mr. Wesley.
Oh yeah, we didn't know he was Wesley's dad at this point.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And Wesley says, "Motherfucker! Can't a man ever even aspire to an orgasm without getting shot at these days?"
Is that a problem that 21st century people have?
Write us in and let us know.
If you get shot at every time you're about to get off, divisiveissues@gmail.com.
So then, Wesley's dad has like Spider-Man jumping skills. He can jump from rooftop to rooftop.
And he's not a fit man.
Yeah, he's like a fat old man dude. Also, speaking of which, he actually has Spider-Man boots on. Reference.
Does he?
Yeah, he does. He has Spider-Man shoes on with webbing.
What? Who put this out? This was Top Cow, right?
Yeah, Top Cat and
Okay.
Slash Image. So
Okay,
dual offer.
great.
They both deserve the credit for this. And so he does this with Spider-Man shit and jumps from the rooftops and kills the guys that are snipering him.
Kills one of them.
He kills a group of them. He kills 3 of them and there's one left.
Okay.
And he's like, "Oh, do you know who you're fucking with? You're fucking with the killer." And who sent you, dickwads? Who the fuck are you people? And he's like, and the guy's like, "Just the decoys, man. Just the motherfucking decoys." And Wesley's dad gets shot in the head.
And it is. You see blood and guts everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty brutal.
So yeah, he gets sniped from far away, and it turns out at the funeral they talk about and they say whoever shot him shot.
Wesley's not at this funeral.
Yeah, Wesley's
it's
not
just a bunch of new characters.
Wesley's not know about all this yet. He thinks he's still this fucking loser at this hypochondriac newspaper bullshit.
Yeah.
And people at the funeral are talking about it, and all these just weird looking guys. Like one guy has like blue skin with like white hair.
Yeah.
And they're like, how the fuck did they kill the killer? And basically they talk about how there's a sniper from far away, from like 2 miles away, and he managed
Two towns away.
2 towns away.
Yeah.
And they're like, who could it be? And
this is when I found it weird because I didn't know the premise of the book. I didn't know anything, and I thought it was just gonna be like one of those like Kick-Ass, like grounded in realism. And it's just like, yeah, now there's all these blue people and like weird looking aliens, and then they're talking about people getting shot from like miles and miles and miles away. And I was like, oh, I guess this has like crazy fantasy elements. I guess I don't know.
So it turns out that Wesley is going to get the inheritance from his dad's death. And meanwhile, Wesley's still fucking loser. He bitches about his girlfriend fucking his best friend again. And then he goes to get some coffee. Actually, he goes to get his traditional sandwich.
And sourdough.
Sesame crusted salmon. And he goes to get a sandwich. And Halle Berry shows up. A woman drawn like Halle Berry.
Halle Berry.
Halle Berry. Well, my favorite brand of cereal.
Halle Berry's.
So she shows up and she's like, you should cancel that order, Jared, because my friend here ain't gonna have time to masticate over sourdough this afternoon. And Eminem's like, excuse me, Eminem, aka Wesley Gibson. And she's like, oh, you have to come with me. And he's like, I'm not coming with you. And he's like, oh yeah, you're fucking are. And she shoots everyone.
She kills everyone in the deli.
Yeah, she kills everyone
All
in
the
the deli.
deli.
All the deli, all the time. Everyone's dead.
Except Wesley.
Yeah, and she's like, now get into the fucking car while I still got this little Miss Patient smile on my face, asshole. You and me got a motherfucking business appointment. And she's like, oh, your days of being a bitch are over, basically.
Yeah, she basically says, like, you're done being a piece of shit asshole.
Yeah.
It's time to be a badass piece of shit asshole.
Yeah. And he brings her to the big warehouse place. They go down to the lower floor. And they talk about, oh, now you're part of the motherfucking fraternity, bitch. I'm not exaggerating the fucking slurs because this
Yeah.
book is very fucking slur heavy.
Yeah.
And
That's like what we said. All the dialogue is so over the top.
yeah, they talk about how oh yeah, your dad's dead and stuff like that. And,
And he didn't even know they knew his dad. And now they're like, he's like, you know my dad? And she's like, well, he's dead now.
yeah, he's dead.
Don't get too excited.
Yeah. Don't get too excited, honey. He got fucked in the face last week by an unknown gunman.
Yeah, that's like, even like instead of shot, he got fucked in the face by a gunman.
Yeah.
Great.
And they say, oh, he was one of the greatest supervillains of all time. And Wesley Gibson's like, supervillains, as the guys from the Batman movies, those lame TV shows.
So, yeah, basically, he knows supervillains and superheroes as comic books and movies. And
Yes.
they're saying it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's all real.
And they pass a guy called Fuckwit. And they
It's just bizarro.
And they say, I hope you ain't gonna let us see the professor or anything, big man, because that's the absolute last thing I want to do right now. And he's like, that's okay, Miss Fox. Not only you not want to go to Professor's lab, but fuck with not let you into Professor's lab. And he opens the door for her.
So it's like a Bizarro has his backwards dialogue.
Well, all the villains in this camp are just Superman ripoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's,
I think they're homages.
except he's called Fuckwit.
No, like
because it's Mark Millar.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't.
You know what I meant.
Yeah,
and I
everyone-
know what you meant.
Everyone's a Mark Millar version of a Superman villain or Batman villain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they meet this nerdy scientist guy named Professor Solomon Seltzer.
and he has like time travel boots, and he's talking about the multiverse and all this crazy shenanigans.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, now you got all the more money than you ever wanted because your dad, and your dad's a fucking badass piece of shit, and you're gonna be a badass piece of shit. But first, you have to shoot the wings off these flies."
And he's like, I've never been in a fight before. I've never shot a gun before. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, and Halle Berry, the fox, puts a gun to his head.
And she has like little fox ears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is a really lame costume, by the way. Like, she's a fucking badass villain, but she has fucking fox ears on. She puts a gun to Wesley's head and
There's
says,
a person made a poo poo show up in the story. Listen, I think she has it okay.
He's one of the best characters. In the whole
Yeah,
fucking
I know.
she said, shoot the wings off the fucking flies, Wesley, on the count of 3. And Wesley's like, Jesus Christ, Fox, for fuck's sakes! And she just starts counting down, and he just shoots the wings off the flies.
Yeah, so he like his impulse, his like
He's a
instinct
natural.
kicks in, and he's a natural.
Yeah. And he's like, holy shit, what the fuck is this? And Solomon's like, isn't it obvious? The answer to all your problems, Wesley. End of issue 1, called Bring On the Bad Guys.
Bring on the bad guys.
And I bring the titles up because issue 2 is called Fuck You.
Yeah, right off the bat,
Yeah.
it's just fuck
I
you.
mean, how'd you guys feel after that issue 1?
I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
I was like, here's a premise that could be interesting. Let's see where they go with it. The only thing is, like I said before, it's so hard for me to read this dialogue and give a shit. Because they're always so aggressively cursing and the language is so aggressive,
Yeah.
I can never tell when people are angry or excited. Like, I feel like...
You can't tell tone.
You can't tell tone, exactly. Like, because everyone seems... Like, when you were doing the voices and stuff, even, like, it was hard to tell, is she screaming at him that he has to do it, or is she being condescending that he has to do
I
it?
assume she'll be condescending.
Yeah, see, I took it as she was, like, screaming at him. You can't tell because the language is always ramped up to 11.
So, next issue opens with Wesley living his shit life, thinking about whether he wants to do it.
So this is... It reminds me of the Matrix where it's, like, the red pill, blue pill, and then he wakes up, and he's back trying to readjust to his everyday life, thinking like, was that a dream kind
That's
of
a really
thing.
good point. This is very reminiscent of the Matrix.
Yeah.
In a bad way, because the Matrix is so much better than this.
Oh yeah.
But
Did that have to be said?
but
I think it's a toss-up, personally.
so he's like, I want to be a supervillain, Fox. I want you to teach me how to be the bad guy.
He's already a supervillain.
Yeah, well, he
He's
went
very
back to
privileged.
work so he could have this realization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To not go back to life that he explicitly states he hates a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but he's already a terrible person. That's like I think. Like,
Yes. So his first step of being a supervillain is throwing all the papers in the air, being "Fuck you, you fucking assholes."
She says this is a test.
Yeah.
You have to get rid of your life by cursing off everyone at your job.
Yeah.
And is this where the boss makes the joke to him, where he's on his
Yes.
computer, and she's like, "What are you doing? Are you on KluKluxKlan.com or WhiteSmallDicks.com?" I actually laughed at that. I thought that was a pretty good joke.
Mark Millar can make a pretty good joke once
Yeah.
in a while.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to Wesley's training, and
There are no repercussions for him telling everyone to fuck off. Like,
Yeah.
you don't even see it on the page. Everyone's just, like, surprised, and then he's outside.
so basically to train, he has to shoot corpses in a shooting gallery. He has to cut up a bunch of livestock.
Because he says, like, he, is one of those guys that, like, passes out when, like, there's a fight. So they're easing him into it by
Yeah.
having him do target practice on dead bodies to see, like, what bone splatters look like.
Yeah.
He's a vegan and a vegetarian, so they go to a slaughterhouse and he has to butcher cows.
Yeah, and
I'm really surprised that they made him so. Because he's really a jerk.
I
in
know.
this story.
That's what I mean. Like
I don't know why they're trying to like. Not that like being a vegan and stuff is like being like a wuss or anything, but they try to make him like this shy, timid like.
Well,
or
later
give,
on they
or
talk
give
about
that impression. But he's not. He's always an asshole.
That's what I meant by when I said they make him seem like a Weasley, nerdy office guy.
Yeah.
At the same time, he looks like Eminem. He dresses in
Yeah. And
rapper
later on,
outfits.
he talks about all his empathy that he's trying to get rid of, and we don't see any of that. Like, and I think that all comes from the dialogue. He just is a dick.
Yeah.
And if it was scripted by somebody else, he could come off as more like Neo in the Matrix,
Yeah.
where he was much more like, yeah, he did like computer hacking and stuff because it was 1999 and that's what you did. But like,
It's a trend, right?
yeah, he came off a lot more like you understand his struggle more
Yeah.
than this guy who's just a piece of shit who wants to be a bigger piece of shit, and he's saying, I wasn't a piece of shit, but you were
Yeah.
a piece of shit.
So one of the training regiments is just gets punched in the face by a massive dude, and Fox says, "How else are you gonna lose this faggoty fear of getting punched in the face, huh?"
And this is the first of many.
Yeah.
But I actually think this premise is cool, that to make him fearless when he fights people, they just keep beating the shit out of him
Yeah.
until a punch means nothing. I think
Yeah.
that's a cool idea.
Then they finally one day after he's getting shit kicked out of him by this guy, they finally untie him, and he says, "Fuck you, dick cheese," and he fucking stabs the guy.
Yeah, so this guy's training him and he kills him. He
Yeah.
stabs him through the head.
The fox says, "Well, you definitely got your old man's knack for improvisation, Wesley. How you feeling over there? Sick, nauseous, racked with guilt over your first human kill?" And Wesley's like, "How do I feel? Like I just fucked Marilyn Monroe without a condom."
Yeah, like, what? What?
And then they have
And he says that he talks about how the first time's the hardest.
Yeah.
It gets easier, but it wasn't. It gets harder to not want to kill all the time. And we've been with this guy for an issue. Now he's saying how he wants to kill everyone all the time, and he's
Yeah.
still supposed to be our protagonist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next issue is him just murdering people. He snipers people on the street. He chokes. He chokes people that reject him in past life. Like a girl said no to him when he was younger. He goes to her house and strangles her.
And the reasons why he kills these people get less and less and less.
Yeah.
Where, like, first it's like people that were mean to him, girls
Yeah.
that rejected him, and then it's just like some guy that like accidentally bumped into him or
Yeah.
something.
Does he rape someone?
Yeah,
and he raped somebody.
He says, "Can you believe I raped an A-list celebrity and didn't even make the news?"
This is not the only time he rapes somebody in
Yeah.
this book.
Yeah.
They talk about it, and they do it so offhandedly and casually that, like, at this point, this is when I was like, oh, I hate this book. How is this our hero?
I never thought he was.
But I need somebody to be emotionally invested in to continue the plot.
I just want to talk about this for a second because there are plenty of stories where a bad guy is our protagonist and our
Yeah.
hero. Usually, a lot of times, it's a character of code of honor
Yeah.
or a character that's more likable than the villains. I guess you could kind of say that here, but so
No.
barely so. It's
no,
so barely
definitely
so.
not.
No.
But they act like it is.
A good evil versus evil story is you have lesser evil versus greater evil.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think he's lesser evil. I just think he's equal evil.
I'd say he's more evil.
I
And we'll get-
actually agree more with the bad guy story than with the
Yeah,
Wesley.
me too. we'll get to that when we talk about who the actual evil is. But I'm not even necessarily saying that our protagonist has to be a hero or has to be good or even has to be morally questionable. But they have to give me a character that I find interesting enough to want to see what happens.
It's not a character with motivations or strong incentive. Strong.
Yeah.
He's a character who just wants to do whatever he wants. He is like the asshole.
He's wish fulfillment.
Yeah, he's wish fulfillment. Like,
Yeah.
he is like
A really sick wish fulfillment.
Yeah. He's just not. I was so at this point during this montage of him murdering literally random strangers on the street and raping people casually. I was like, I really hope he dies at the end, and
Yeah.
he doesn't.
Yeah.
So cool.
yeah. So then he says,
We're spoiling the shit out of the later part of this.
who
book.
gives a shit? So he murders the fucking guys, the fucking chulos, according to
Is
him.
he ever really in danger of dying in this
No,
book?
no, no.
I don't think so.
No.
No.
So that's not. That's an anti-spoiler.
Yeah, so he beats up the Hispanic guys that were harassing him before. He murders them. Then he says "fuck you" to his girlfriend. Says I'm dumping you.
He also says, "Yeah, I murdered." He tells her that he murdered his best friend because he knew she was fucking him, and he cut him up and threw him in a dumpster.
Yep.
Yeah, and she doesn't believe him. She thinks he's joking. Like haha. Like we're talking about you breaking up with me. Come on, let's be
She's
serious.
basically just like, you're just a big pussy, and you're only saying this so you don't have to deal with the commitment. Because I wanted to have a baby at one point with
Yeah.
him. That's like super casually thrown in there.
Yeah, and he's just like fuck you, Lisa. And she's like, what? You heard me. Fuck you. I'm sorry, but it's really that simple. And he walks out, meets the old man, and the old man says, cheer up, Wesley. It might never happen, kiddo. And Wesley shoots him in the face saying, fuck you too, old man. Fuck everybody. And he drives off.
Yeah, and like, cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is a great character.
Cool, good
follow.
character.
So he gets his dad's outfit, which is like this. He actually has a bitchin' outfit, but
I think a lot of the designs in this book are really good.
Yeah.
I know you don't like the Fox costume. I'm not defending that
it's
costume.
just a fucking ears.
Yeah, but a lot of the villain designs are super cool. And because they're not the focus, because this is a world where supervillains exist and there's no heroes, it's kind of really cool seeing like the bombastic costumes just in like a realistic setting, but like not in a combat setting at all, just kind of like when they're hanging out.
Yeah.
And it's I that aspect is really cool to me.
So then they meet the. They have a big villain show up.
Gathering of the Five. or
Gathering of the
whatever.
Five, where they basically show off the new costume and the new killer. Wesley's dad was called the Killer. Now Wesley's called the Killer.
Yeah.
Which is a very unimaginative villain name. But,
Yeah.
And fuckwit is it's real.
it's just an improvement over the Killer, and then they meet the villain called Mr. Ruckus. Mr. Rictus.
Yeah.
So Mr. Rictus,
Mr. Butkus.
Mr. Butkus he looks like a skeleton with these cool red sunglasses on. He kind of looks like the Red Skull with red sunglasses.
Yeah.
Or Black Mask.
Or Black Mask.
Yeah.
We're going for the Batman homage.
And basically, people believe he killed Wesley's dad. And he's kind of a dick to Wesley. And
everyone's like open about it. Like I'm pretty sure he killed your dad.
Yeah.
His dad used to work for him in his gang, and then he went solo.
Yeah.
So
And
He defected over to
yeah.
Solomon.
That's
Is
right.
that his name?
Over to Solomon Seltzer, the guy that Wesley's
the professor. Or
the
whatever.
guy that mentoring.
This is called the Professor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Professor
Professor X.
Sex. And basically, Rectus was pissed off because when they divide. Basically, what happened was all supervillain. Let me start over.
Is this when they explain the world?
Yeah, they explained all the superheroes teamed up and fought all the super.
Do you want me to take this slide?
Take this, please.
Okay, so this is when they do the whole big exposition dump on this world. There was always superheroes and supervillains for decades and decades, and in 1986, all the villains got sick of getting beaten. So instead of just doing like casual team ups, they all got together in prison throughout the world, and they made a giant army of supervillains. So like every Batman villain, every Superman villain, every Flash villain, all teamed up and basically systematically killed every superhero.
Yeah.
And then using their... I actually thought this was really cool. They were talking about like their mystical imps, like Mr. Mixopolitic from Superman, and like all these like crazy, quirky supervillain concepts, like these mad scientists. And they said, well, when we all worked together, we had magic and science. We created a machine that basically reshaped reality to suit us, where they took all the heroes, lobotomized them, and made them like, old washed up actors, and like they were like paralyzed and all this stuff, and basically made them like useless, and mind wiped everyone so that they thought this was the way the world always was, allowing them to run the criminal empire, basically run the whole world behind the scenes.
Yeah, and five main supervillains run everything, and Professor's one of them, and Mr. Rictus is one of them.
Yeah.
But Mr. Rictus is bitter because when they divided up the countries, he got Australia, and he wanted to get America.
And I actually find this premise and concept really, really cool because what it's supposed to be is a satire that 1986 is when comics got dark and gritty.
Yeah.
And they're saying, like, well, what if we took that to the realistic extreme? That if villains started actually being, like, smart serial killers, they could easily take out these, like, super moral compass characters that are uncompromising.
Yeah.
And this is when I was like, I see why someone wanted to make a movie out of this. This is interesting.
Even though the movie does not use this concept at all.
But I didn't know that. You know, I was like, I could see this is a cool idea. And basically, there's...
I can see why they greenlighted the movie when they read this comic, and
Yeah.
then they said, maybe we should not do supervillain stuff because it's kind of weird.
Yeah, but I thought that was
I
really
can't
cool.
see why anyone greenlit this a movie based on. That's why I was so. I was like when friends was like, what made it in? Because like I can't imagine anyone ever reading this and being like, we should make a movie of this.
I like to
Yeah.
imagine this was at the top at the sales chart, and one studio head was like, this is a hot new ticket, we
Yeah.
gotta make this our movie, see?
Also-
and the director read it and was like, let's do the first 5 pages and nothing else,
Yeah.
basically.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. At this point in 2008, was the, like, independent publisher, like, 6-issue miniseries, one story, was that a super common thing?
It wasn't
I
as
feel
common.
like this was, like, the beginning of the, like, movie format.
Yeah, and this was like when Alan Moore stuff was being adapted, like
Yeah.
how,
So I could see why they would be looking to publishers like Vertigo and Top Cow and be like, let's...
Yeah,
let's
I
look
can
into
see
this.
that. I can't see why they picked this.
Yeah.
I could see that, too.
So
I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And then he reveals that the professor is sentimental and he kept...
Superman's cape.
presumably Superman's cape,
Basically
which is
Superman's
never
cape.
mentioned again in this whole book.
Yeah.
But showing, and this page is actually, I'm really like mad that it doesn't get mentioned again because I think this concept's really cool that the supervillain is the sentimental one
Yeah.
for like the way things used to be, which is kind of unexpected given this world. And I actually thought that this page was almost powerful,
Almost.
almost.
That ends issue 2.
This issue, I actually thought this issue, the second half of this issue was probably my favorite part of the whole book.
I agree, actually, with that. So issue 2 ends.
I don't know if I have a favorite part of this book.
It's my least favorite part. No, I thought this premise was really cool. This exposition dump I was really into actually.
So issue 3 begins and it's called Super Gangbang.
Yeah, you know.
And it opens with all the supervillains basically went to another parallel universe with superheroes that are still alive, and basically they murder all the superheroes here. And
Well, they're there for a trophy.
they're there for a trophy.
And this is Wesley's first time out in the field, I believe.
Yeah, and they're there to get a kryptonite.
A radiation condom.
I was about to say kryptonite.
It's
cock ring.
kryptonite. It's pretty much kryptonite.
It's basically a kryptonite condom.
Yeah.
But it's a kryptonite condom, and basically they kill a bunch of superheroes, and then they have, but they get overwhelmed and they have to make it back to their world. And
And Wesley like kicks ass and with his crazy pinpoint superpower accuracy.
yeah, and also it turns out I think Fox. This is when they reveal Fox and him are having sex.
Yeah.
She says, "Take it."
So
Basically,
there's presumably a time jump here.
yeah, basically. Wesley asks her for help while they're fighting, and she says, "Take it easy, you little faggot. You really think I'm gonna lose the life support for that penis I've been using lately?"
Yeah, and I just not only like I know I'm biased because I personally
I'm a life support for a penis.
I think faggot is the worst language in the entire. The worst word in the entire English language. I hate it so much.
I think it's the second worst. I said the first.
Yeah. So, you know, like, I cringe every time, but, like, it's really hard to explain the dialogue without using how cringeworthy
You have
this
to.
language is. Because it's, like, it's so...
We can't talk about two. If we were to keep this podcast clean, we can't talk about two of the character names in this book.
Yeah. And it's just so, like, macho, obnoxious.
tasteless.
It's tasteless. It's everything that I hate about fiction. Like, there is a
Yeah.
certain type of fiction that I cannot stand, and it is this book. Through
Yeah.
and through.
So,
Or this dialogue.
But this dialogue is this book, though.
I know. I'm not defending the book. I'm
Yeah.
saying like there are cool concepts. I don't want to. I don't. There's some things in here that I like, but most of it is bad.
we have to learn a little bit about the doll master guy. He has like dolls that come alive.
He like makes robots and
Yeah, they're like dolls.
He's the toy maker.
Yeah,
yeah.
toy maker. And
you know from super mainstream popularity, the toy maker.
and I wanted to clarify.
No, from Supergirl.
Is he in that?
I believe so.
That's awesome.
There you go.
I love the toy maker.
So, just to clarify, not only do supervillains run the world, basically, the police and everyone, like if they try to hassle one of the supervillains, they say, "I'm a member of the fraternity. Get the fuck out of my face." And the police are like, "Oh yeah, oh the fraternity. I have to get out of here."
Yeah, so nobody in this world knows about supervillains, but every person in any kind of authority knows about the fraternity.
Yeah.
That raises questions for me of how this world works.
That concept's not in the movie, thank God.
Good.
Yeah, that's the fun part. Like, I figured, like, in this world, you'd be like higher government people know, but like literally they run into a beat cop.
Yeah, like
on the street.
What a terribly kept secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, why is this book called Wanted?
I don't know.
Okay.
He's not wanted like at all.
No.
No, he's
Nobody wants
wanted.
For one page.
For one page.
It's like an issue.
Yeah.
We're selling it short. Ryan.
Even then,
An issue determines the name of the entire book.
and even then, that's an issue late, like way later. Usually, you establish the title and premise pretty early.
Well, he's
It's not like you picked up a Harry Potter book and in the second to last chapter, they're like, by the way, here's this guy Harry Potter.
Well, he's wanted by the fraternity.
For like
But
an
he
issue.
also is
I'm
like,
fucking with you.
oh,
But so I bring up the doll maker because basically he has a normal life and his family doesn't know he's a doll maker and he wants to keep it that way. He wants to be able to go back to his regular life.
and he brings Wesley over as like his
Yeah.
like business associate.
Because his wife thinks that he's going around cheating on him.
And
Or
see,
cheating on her
even
with
this,
other people.
even the scene where he's a supervillain, he was in the other reality. It was 3 weeks, and in our world, it was only 1 day. So, no, switch those. They were in
the other reality.
the other reality for a day. Here, it's been 3 weeks. So his wife thinks he's cheating on him. This could be an interesting premise of like, how does this supervillain cope with the double lifestyle? Because we never really
Yeah.
see that in
The
comics.
doll maker is a much more likable character than Wesley. He
Yeah.
should have been the main character.
Yeah.
He was my favorite character in this
I
book.
think he is the best character.
By
in
a
this book.
lot.
But like we always see the superhero coping with his like
Dual identity.
his dual identity. We never really see a supervillain like
Yeah.
that. And in this, I would have loved to see that more. But even he walks in, and in front of their little kids, his wife goes, "Is that? Are you gonna tell me about that bitch you were fucking? Is that why he's here?" And I'm like, even I should feel sympathetic for her,
She's like a
or
bitch.
I'm interested in this. And now she's an asshole who's
Yeah.
like saying all these horrible things in front of their little baby kids.
Yeah.
Like Mark Millar can't even get me to care about this family.
So then they have a big summit with all the big five, the leaders of the supervillains.
Yeah.
Then they meet with another member of the five, and they give him the kryptonite condom, and it's basically the other
He
guys.
brought it as a nostalgic present.
And he's
Yes.
like, those are very happy memories. And he's like, thank you for this. And that nostalgia basically makes him remember that the good old days, and he wants to keep things the way they are. Because basically, Rictus proposes that they go public and become supervillains, like public supervillains fucking shit up.
He likes the rush of being on the paper front page about like him robbing banks and
Yeah.
killing people. He doesn't like this whole secret society stuff.
Here's the thing, though. Like, what is he going to... Like, I get if he wants the rush, if there are people from the fight, but they already run the world.
Yeah.
Like, and they control the police. So I don't think he wants the rush. I just think he wants to
Fuck shit up.
destroy the world, pretty
Yeah.
much.
I could see that. I took it as he was just like bored. He's like those eccentric billionaires.
No,
that do
I
these
know
crazy things.
he's bored absolutely, but I don't think it was more like he wants the glory of it. Like I think he just wants to destroy the world.
But Professor says we can't go public because if we do, the superheroes from the other dimensions will come to our world and fuck our shit up.
Just
Oh
like
yeah, I
the-
forgot that was their big deterrent.
Yeah,
in this book.
that's
Yeah.
why that's what Rictus wants. Rictus wants the superheroes to come here.
because he wants people to fight.
Yeah, he's sick and tired of them. Basically, he wants a supervillain fight. He wants that thrill of the supervillain fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think again, this is a cool concept.
And this is why I like Mr. Rictus better than Wesley. Wesley just wants to fuck shit up. While Rictus
No,
actually
this
has a
is
goal.
what's funny to me because in a lot of ways they both want the old days.
Yeah.
They're both very the professor and Rictus both are nostalgic for the old days in very different reasons.
Yeah.
Whereas Professor, I think he seems to miss the camaraderie of it.
Yeah.
Rictus misses the glory
And the
which is-
gore.
and
Yeah.
the gore.
Because he's
yeah.
obviously a psychopath.
Yeah.
Well, everyone in this book is a psychopath.
Yeah, but he's the craziest of the like he's the most violent and stuff.
It's debatable.
Wesley's up there.
Wesley's up there, yeah. But like this is what I'm talking about is like these scenes are really interesting when we talk about them.
Yes.
I actually like this book when we talk about it. When I read it, I hated it.
Yeah.
Cuz like the dialogue gets so in the way of these good premises.
Yeah. So the guy that the professor gave the kryptonite condom, he basically swings the vote against Mr. Rictus, so they're going to stay private for another year.
Because
Yeah.
he had already talked to
Yeah.
Rictus separately, and he was on his side.
Yeah.
And then the professor manipulated him with this present and other things. He says later he wore his father's favorite cologne, all this stuff,
Yeah.
to kind of manipulate him to come back to their side.
Which is a scene I really liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mr. Rictus leaves. He's pissed off. And
Doesn't he say something weird?
Yeah, I want to say that. Wesley's like, "Happy go fucking Mr. Rictus." And Mr. Rictus is like, "What? What did you say to me? Nothing.
And he leans in close.
I don't fuck goats, Mr. Gibson. I make love to them."
See, that's what I'm talking about. Is these scenes like this? We were like, "This is a great scene.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's got a lot of cool ideas." And then that's how they end it with it's like, "I don't fuck goats.
Yeah.
I make love to them." And it's like, why? Why do you gotta ruin any good thing you have?
And just to clarify, at the one of Rictus's henchmen is called Shithead. He's a guy made out of the shit of all the evil people in history. Like
I think this concept is awesome and hilarious.
it's Hitler shit, like Stalin shit.
Yeah, he like traveled through time to get like the monsters of history, all their just shit, and made a Clayface monster out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that is the kind of over the top edgy joke that I find funny,
Yeah.
and like I enjoyed it, where it's like
It's a
exactly,
shit person. It's hysterical.
It's it's a shit person. His name is Shithead.
Yeah, and Professor's like drives home in his limo, be happy about his victory today, and then Shithead smashes through the window and says, "Eat shit and die, you old fart," and basically suffocates him in his body.
Well, Shithead was
Shithead
Shithead in true Clayface form is masquerading as the chauffeur.
Yeah.
No, because basically. That's actually not true because fuckwit says the old bird's in position, boys. Ready whenever you are.
I thought he was fuckwit. I can't believe we are doing the show and I just said the sentence. I'm pretty sure Shithead was fuckwit.
Yeah. So just to clarify, his limo driver was fuckwit. And
No, this is totally him.
is
This is
Yeah.
totally like Shithead. God, I
Wait,
can't
wait.
believe I'm saying this.
Yeah, Shithead was fuckwit,
so
right, Joe?
Yeah.
So fuckwit was shithead instead.
Yeah.
They body switch.
I'll take Joe's word for it.
No, because remember, Fuckwit shows up later and he's being detained. Fuckwit is
Einhorn is Finkel. Shithead is fuckwit.
Okay, so I think you guys are right. So to clarify, fuckwit.
It really doesn't matter because Shithead just drowns the
So
professor. in
Professor
shit.
gets killed by Shithead.
He doesn't just kill him; he drowns him in shit.
And
Yeah.
and Rector says, "Well," and shithead says, "Death by dysentery."
Dysentery.
Death by dysentery. I can't fucking read it.
Sly only knows it from Oregon Trail, so he's never had to pronounce it before.
And so it ends with Mr. Rictus is like, "Let's go get the rest of these idiots."
Yeah, so Mr. Rictus and his
Yes.
League of Villains, killed the professor. Now, what is this issue 4 or 5?
This is issue 3.
Fuck.
End of
Wait, end of issue 3?
End of issue.
Issue,
three.
end of issue 3.
Okay, so we're up to
Yeah.
issue 4 now.
Yeah, and issue 4 is Crime Pays. And it opens with a flashback to the old days when supervillains were running around. And one of the first supervillains was a group of completely naked men. And people would be basically so focused on looking at their dicks while they're robbing shit that they wouldn't look at their faces.
Nobody could ID them.
You could just wear fucking masks.
But then it's not funny and edgy. And then you don't get to see a bunch of dudes' dicks flopping around while they rob a bank.
Oh god, I forgot about this premise.
Yeah.
because this didn't matter.
Yeah.
And this is Fox is explaining this story to Wesley as like these were the first supervillains. Learn your roots.
Learn your roots, asshole.
Yeah, learn
the
the lore. And she's saying like they didn't have superpowers, but they were the first gimmick criminals.
Yeah.
They were in the golden age of the 30s. And once closed caption what is it?
Closed circuit.
Closed circuit
God damn
TV. Closed captioning.
Those subtitles can really fucking point out their dicks.
Yeah. I'm picturing like footage of these guys and then they turn and like their names pop up on the bottom like old 90s sitcoms.
I imagine if the closed captioning censored them, and they lost the effectiveness because people started looking at their faces now.
Yeah.
If you
No, but closed circuit TV put an end to the big dick robbers or whatever.
yes.
So, the Fox explained this to Wesley while they're in bed.
Oh, and also they mentioned that superheroes didn't stop them because they didn't want to wrestle naked dudes.
Oh yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is like his view of sexuality is so immature.
Yeah, like seriously, who's that immature? Like in real law enforcement.
Yeah, like
How many naked dudes do cops tackle every day?
Also, they would just shoot them.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have to wrestle them if they're in police. The police would just shoot them.
just like what? You have a gang of naked dudes robbing banks, and they show superheroes watching them get away. Like, ew.
So
I'm not touching that.
while they're talking in bed, Wesley points out that he's kind of sad because he went to a police station and murdered all the police in there.
For no reason.
Yeah, and then he felt bad because he left one woman alive, and she was
He was
crying.
gonna rape her or something, right?
He wanted to rape her, but she was crying, and she was like crying and begging for her life. And he's like, I lost my heart on. I couldn't get up anymore, and I left. And this is our hero.
And he broke down in tears because he realized, like, oh my god, I'm a fucking monster.
Yeah.
I'm the protagonist of a Mark Millar book. What have I done?
And the Fox explains that basically you hit the roadblock where everyone when they first get all the free reign, they murder and rape everyone, but then you realize like you can't live your life just doing that. You have to learn to be responsible and start dealing with
So
shit.
she's basically explaining why the professor and all of them are still bad guys, but why they're not just going around killing everybody. Basically
But
explaining.
why they're not as big an asshole as our protagonist?
Yeah. So they're basically she's explaining like why the professor wants the world this way, because once you get that out of your system, you just want to be like a criminal, a white collar crime kind of person, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Career criminal.
So they're right because Fuckwood's getting his face fucked up by one of a traitor.
So this is the real fuckwit.
Yeah, and people betrayed the professor. Now the professor's dead, and they go through all these different members of the professor's group, and they're all getting murdered. They kill Mr. Mixiplik.
Yeah, the fifth dimensional imp guy that was magic. They kill him.
Yeah.
And the guy that was the traitor, who I didn't even remember being in the book previously, so it wasn't exactly a reveal for me.
Yeah, me too.
He's like a power siphoner, right?
Yeah,
so he can.
Yeah.
He's Superman's villain.
He's Parasite.
Yeah, he's Parasite.
And
So he can steal people's powers and emulate them for 24 hours.
yeah, so he steals Fuckwood's powers.
So he has Superman's powers.
Yeah.
And they also, this is how mean-spirited it is, when they talk about Fuckwit, about how he's like Bizarro, they call him like a Down syndrome baby and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
Why be so mean to everybody?
Because everyone is mean in this book.
I just mean like from a writer perspective. Why do you have to punch down so much?
One of the supervillains in this book I forgot to mention before. Let's see if I can find his name now.
Is it Johnny Two Dick?
Johnny Two Dicks.
Here we go.
Yeah, what is
Johnny
his deal?
Two Dicks.
He thinks with his dick or something?
He has his dick. He has a second dick that has like its own mind and it controls him.
And it's 13 inches
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, it's basically Scarface and the ventriloquist from Batman, who is a guy with a puppet, and the puppet basically calls all the shots. Except in this case, it's his dick calling all the shots.
Yeah, that's, that happens.
And
I
basically,
actually really loved him.
yeah, and basically the dick.
Not
I
like-
thought he was a bit of a dickhead.
Yeah,
Because he has like the 1950s gangster voice
Yeah,
and
he's like-
everything too.
yeah. Johnny Two Dicks is like, please, Johnny, don't make me do this. Fuck you, cocksucker! You take that fucking crowbar and you kill this motherfucker. Or I swear to God, I'll kill you my fucking self.
Having a dick call his owner a cocksucker is one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And like you never see him, you just see the speech bubble coming from like his crotch.
Yeah.
Like it took me a second to get who he was. I'm like, why is the speech bubble there? I'm like, oh, you're Johnny Two Dicks.
And this is one of the things
Of
that
course you are.
I was surprised that they didn't show it. I was like, why stop here?
Yeah.
That's one thing they do. They stop at nudity.
There is one panel of a naked woman,
Okay.
Yeah, there's panel.
which it's at like the end.
So Johnny Two Dicks kills Fuckwit, and he says, "Don't look at me like that, Fuckwit. I'm only doing what the boss down there tells me," which is great commentary on men and their judgment being judged by the
Yeah,
penis
he's thinking with his dick instead
Yeah.
of his brain.
very subtle nuance by Mark Millar.
Yeah.
And the doll maker is basically working on his dolls, and he knows Mr. Riggs is there for him, and he's basically trying to do like very cordial.
Says, like, just my kids are gonna be the ones to find my body. Don't like mangle up my face. Just shoot me once. Let me peacefully go.
And Mr.
Yeah.
Roxas is like, I'm glad you could take this very peacefully, but here's your dead family. And basically shows him photos of all his family.
Yeah, he says like, you don't have to
Yeah.
worry about that. We already killed your whole family.
Yeah.
And
And the one character I liked in this book
Yeah.
has his family murdered.
And he says, something you would like to say, old friend? Something dignified? Something classy and forgiving? And Dollmaker says, boys, I want you to kill this motherfucker. And all the dolls come alive and attack Mr.
I kind of love that.
This is the only time that I was like, yeah,
The only
in the
time,
whole book.
the only time I cheered for anyone.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause
was the family, like the actual, like not like nice character, but the family man.
we haven't really seen him do anything terrible.
He's killed heroes and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
He's a
but
bad guy, but like,
Yeah.
in this world,
He's the most nuanced character
Yeah.
in this entire book, by a mile.
yeah, oh yeah, by 2 cities over.
Wesley turns on the news and his girlfriend's on the news saying, "Well, my boyfriend killed his best friend and now he's a fucking murderer." And then he's like, "What the fuck is this? We're in a fraternity. She shouldn't be saying all this stuff on the news."
Yeah,
And it turns out basically he lost all fraternity privileges when Richter betrayed all of them.
yeah,
And shithead shows up, and
with like a gang.
yeah, and the Fox and Wesley murdered the fuck out of them.
They kill everybody, and they pour bleach all over Shithead, so he like dissolves.
There's no tension in these fights whatsoever.
No.
They just
No, there are no fights whatsoever.
yeah, they just shoot the fuck everyone. Like, I can see why the movie only focuses on the gunplay, and it's all about bending the bullets and all this other shit. And it makes sense because Mark Millar does not make any of the superpowers seem appealing at all. He just makes the gunplay seem cool, and not even that. So what's the point of any of the powers if guns can beat even shit powers?
Yeah.
Can beat shit.
Yeah, if guns can beat shit, what's the point of shit?
Well, you also apparently Bleach also beat shit.
Bleach also
You
beat
ever
shit.
put bleach on shit?
No.
Me neither.
So
I'll take Mark Millar's word that he did like the groundbreaking research.
so they kill Shithead and they flush him down the toilet, and then issue 5 is called the Shit List.
Yeah.
And then
or the shit list, because Shithead's dead.
oh, the Shit List.
No, I think it is a shit list, but like
How many issues is in total? 6?
6.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then Wesley and Fox are now like getting ready to murder everyone, and meanwhile the rest of the 5 get called by Mr. Rictus. Mr. Rictus is like, "We're going to go public now. Fuck all of you," and he has Batman and Robin tied up.
Adam West and Burt Ward.
Yeah, they're like it was a TV show. Why are you tying us up? And he's like, "No, you detective assholes are always fucking my
you
shit
were
up.
really Batman and Robin, but we, did the mind wipe thing.
You're
Also-
really Batman and Robin. We can't. We have the rights to Batman and Robin, so we can't call you
Yeah.
that."
Also, we didn't mention this. There is kind of an underlying mystery of who actually killed his dad, where he like asks Fox at one point, "Did you kill my dad?" And she says, "No, I loved him." The villains think
Shithead.
Fox did it.
That was the whole point with Shithead before he pours the bleach on him. Was like, who killed my dad?
Yeah. So there is this underlying mystery of who killed him, and he thinks Mr. Rictus is too obvious of an answer.
Yeah.
Because Mr. Rictus says he didn't do it,
Yeah.
but he like wanted to or whatever.
And then he puts in that it's a whole sub. I think he gets it from Shithead where he's like, "Oh no, it might have been the professor because the professor."
Because his dad was gunning for the professor's seat.
And he defected from Mr. Rich's professor because he wanted control of America.
Yeah.
It'd be great if you cared about these
Yeah,
characters
that's the
at
thing
all.
is I don't give a
Yeah.
fuck.
So
I don't need closure for this.
they have all these supervillains like a woman that can Poison Ivy basically can control plants. They have a guy who can be.
She says something really dumb in this too, doesn't she? She says something really tasteless.
Oh
Probably.
yeah, no. Basically, one of the guys is like a Nazi,
There we go.
and he says
That's what this book needed.
Yeah, so-
he's Nazi supervillain.
Yeah,
He's like branded SS and stuff.
Poison Ivy's like, "You have no idea how liberating it feels just to let these gifts run wild again, future. How did we let them talk us into restraining ourselves all these years? How could we have been satisfied with these tiny little deft holes and practicing in private?" And the guy, future, is like, "It's the Jews I wanted most. I told them I could suffer the blacks and the chinks, but they promised me the Jews back in '86. Treacherous bloody bastards." And then both of them get murdered by Wesley. And basically, no matter what powers they have, no matter how cool they might be, vegetation control, psychosis-inducing hypnotism.
They all get beaten by a guy with a gun.
Yeah, very good writing. And Parasite shows up, and he has Fuckwit's powers. Like, "I'm gonna fuck your shit up."
Yeah, this is that drives your whole point home about the his avoidance of fight scenes.
And he says, "For 24 hours, I got every superpower Fuckwit was packing, and that means you two are fucking dog food, man."
Yeah, and they're like up on like a currently being
Yeah.
built skyscraper, so he's like flying above yelling. at
And
them.
Wesley says, "You steal Fuckwit's IQ or something when you siphoned up his superpower, sucker? The fuck you talking about, bitch? 24 hours was up half a second ago." And then Parasite falls to his death. A good thing we didn't have a fight there. That would have been...
Also, how does Wesley know the exact time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause he wasn't there when they like gang murdered like Fuckwit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is dumb. This is
Yeah.
a bad book, Joe.
How about you and I both paid for this?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Sly's idea. He's just this whole podcast is Sly punking us to spend all money on bullshit.
They're successful. So then Wesley murders more people, more people.
This whole issue is just him murdering people.
And he murders fucking Mr. Rictus.
And he says, "Who killed my dad?" And Mr. Rictus says, "Lee Harvey Oswald."
Yeah. And he says, wrong answer, shit for brains.
So instead of like following up and
Yeah.
asking him again, he just kills
It's pretty
him.
much like Fox and Wesley fighting impossible odds and beating all these powerful people with guns in scenes that don't make much
Yeah,
sense.
he'd
other than
rath-
the fact that he kills people faster than they can use their powers.
Well, I don't know how he's ever gonna find out who killed his dad unless there's some sort of just reveal of Deus Ex Machina of some character showing up about to tell him.
Speaking of which, his dad shows up and tells him. It was,
His dad, whose like brains we saw get blown out earlier in the book.
yeah, and Wesley's wife is like, you might fuck you. You might be a fucking shapeshifter or some shit. But the fox is like, oh, we planned this out where I would fake kill him, and then we would basically I forget what the fuck is it?
I don't get why they did this.
Why did they do this?
Oh, to train Wesley.
Oh, to train Wesley, I guess.
Yeah.
Which
Because his dad feels bad about not being there.
his dad
and-
abandoned him. His dad feels bad not because he abandoned his son,
Yeah.
not because he wasn't there for him, because his son grew up to be a pussy.
Yeah.
No, but he feels his feels that his son grew up to be supposed to be because he abandoned him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, that's shitty.
Yes. Welcome to this book.
His son's not a violent fucking asshole.
Yeah. Well, now he is. He's this repressed rapist, and basically Millar is saying the point that if you're a wimp, it's because you're just repressing your like rapist tendencies.
So do you think that because he flashbacks to like him and with his mom,
For the record, the art during these flashbacks is really, really cool.
it's very 1960s comic style.
Yeah, and I actually thought that was really, really cool.
But like he explains like how he met his mom at a bar, and
Like a supervillain bar.
and basically she wanted to be a homemaker, and he wanted to go and fight. Fuck
He
shit
wanted
up.
to continue living his life of killing people.
Yeah, and was this supposed to be sentimental? Do you guys think, or do you think this is just explanation, dry explanation?
I think it's dry explanation.
Because
I think parts of it are.
it does not work.
Yeah, of course, but like I
There.
think he's trying.
Oh yeah, there's a test. There's a process there for Tish hanging out.
Just one panel of just a topless woman.
Yeah.
Don't know why. It's just weird to like if you made it so far. And I have no problem with the nudity in the book, but like why do it now at the end of issue 6?
Especially when they've had people having sex
Yeah.
multiple times in this book.
But also for the record, even though there's no nudity, every woman always has nipples in this book, including the panel in the flashback where him and his mom are on the couch like watching TV, and his mom, it must be freezing in that apartment cuz his mom has like super nips for no reason. Like why? It might not be in this flashback, but there's one flashback.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Why? What a weird thing to put in.
So
Also, you missed the part where his dad tells his dad's talking about like how great his mom was at sex and all this stuff.
oh yeah, let me see. Let me get back to where I forgot about that.
I don't think we need the
I
specifics.
know we need
Yeah.
specifics.
And he's just
The
like,
listener needs.
he's like, I
specifics.
thought they trained all your sexual repression out, and he's like, I still don't want to hear about like how hard you fucked my mom.
Is this what happened with you and mom? She picked out your car keys. That's disgusting. Son,
Oh yeah, it was a key party.
Yeah, son, we never even got home that night. We fucked in my flame chaser for 2 days solid, and my God, she was hot. The things that woman could do for fingers. Can we change the subject, please? Why? I thought the fox had deprogrammed all those weird sexual hangouts you've been carrying around. And Fox is like, a girl can only do so much, baby. Took almost 2 entire weeks to get him over his fear of cunnilingus.
Even though I hate this guy Wesley and he's a piece of shit, I don't.
Do you love his sex positiveness?
No, I don't know who I feel bad for here. Like, I guess I feel bad for him because his dad's like being so over the top with this like sex story about his mom. But like, it's everything.
I don't feel bad for him.
Everything about it is so weird. Where I like don't know what emotion I'm supposed to be getting out of this book.
Yeah. So then,
Are you supposed to be getting emotion out?
I think you are because
I'll say this for closing thoughts.
It's
but-
fiction. I'm supposed to have some sort of
Yeah.
response. Otherwise, why read it?
they're crying at the end. This tear is being shed. There's supposed to be some emotion to the scene because the final scene is the dad's like, now you have to kill me, Wesley, and
So he did this whole thing to train Wesley, and now he's saying your final act is to
shoot me in the head.
shoot me in the head. Yeah.
And basically, and Wesley's like, why? And Wesley Senior is like, someone's gonna kill me someday, and I don't want to die to some fucking lucky piece of shit superhero. I want my son to kill me. I want somebody who deserves to kill me. And he says, now will you stop being such a fucking pussy and pull that goddamn trigger? And Wesley's like, this is horrible. I know it's horrible, but it's also why I trained you. I love you, Dad. I love you too, son.
Like,
No, but I really love you, Dad. So pull that fucking trigger, huh? And he shoots him in the head.
Yeah.
And they're both crying during this moment.
yeah.
I think there's supposed to be sentiment during that scene.
I don't.
But like, we also only just met the dad
Yeah.
in this issue, or like the last page of the last issue. So like, I don't give a shit. Also, he like abandoned his son. Like, I don't feel bad for like.
No, but he went to go visit him a lot while his son was asleep.
I guess.
So,
He really looks like Eminem.
Yeah, he does.
I wasn't thinking of that when I read it because I don't think of Eminem often, and
I think of him every day.
he really he really looks like Eminem.
I thought of it, and then when we finished it, I had looked up stuff, and it's like the main characters are based off of Halle Berry and Eminem, and I'm like, yes, I also got that vibe.
So Halle Berry says, "Oh, now that everyone's dead except us, now we're in charge of the syndicate. Now we're gonna get all this fucking money." And Eminem's like, Wesley Gibson's like, "I'm not interested." And she's like, "What? I'm just not interested in this shit anymore. You think this is how I want to live my life? You think this is how I want to die? Some dysfunctional mess that couldn't even stick around and raise his own son? Like I said before, I'd rather be a prick than an asshole any day of the week."
Well, he's both, so it's fine.
Yeah. And she's like, "So what are you gonna do?" "I don't know. Go find a job, I guess. If you guys can really cover this up, maybe even go back and do my old one." "You really got that much appetite for eating shit, Wesley? You really learned nothing from that experience?" "I learned you can't solve every problem with a bullet, Fox. What I did to Lisa wasn't any better than what my dad did to my mom. And look how that turned out." Oh,
They're pretty different scenarios,
Yeah.
for the record.
"Oh, please, don't tell me you're going back to that fat skank. She couldn't buy a pack of cigarettes while sucking somebody's cock. She was still my girlfriend, man, and she deserved a hell of a lot better than being ditched by some dickwad on that adolescent power trip." And Halle Berry's like, "Wait a minute. You're fucking with me here, right?" "Of course I'm fucking with you, bitch. Now let's go see what $10 million looks like in real life."
And it's just...
I'm not gonna lie, when that scene happened and he's like, "No, fuck that, let's go see the money," I was like, "Oh, thank you, God."
Because the speech seems so disingenuous and bizarre. And, I was like, he had none of these doubts before, aside from that one panel where he cried when he, killed all those cops. I was like, where the fuck is this coming from?
Yeah, that's how I felt too. I was like, I swear, if this book is gonna do this, and this is supposed to be the moral message of this book, I would have been like, this would have been this is already probably the worst thing I've ever read.
Yeah.
And then, and then if he pulled out this moral part, and then he's like, "No, I'm walking away from this life after all this," I would have been like, this is as bad as this is. This would have been so much worse if it tried to have a message at the end.
Before that, it was the worst book you've read up to this point. If they did that, it'd be the worst book you'll ever read.
Exactly.
So now we get to the final speech. Wesley gives to the reader. "There, happy now? Pleased to see the mystery resolved? Little old me getting the girl the cash and ending our story as one of the secret masters of the world? God, you're
because they joined the 5 now.
Yeah. God, you're such an asshole, and I speak from experience. It only seemed like yesterday I was at your level on the pathetical meter. Why should you give a shit how my life turns out?
I shouldn't.
You're killing yourself.
I don't.
You're killing yourself, working 12-hour days, getting fat on cheap takeout food, and your girlfriend's almost certainly fucking other guys. Just because you got a plasma screen TV and a big DVD collection doesn't mean you're a free man, motherfucker. You're just a well-paid slave like those other cattle out there. And even this comic was just a 15-minute respite from how hard we're fucking you. You used to think the rules always like this, didn't you? The wars, the famine, the terrorism, and the rigged elections. But now you know better, right? Now you know what's happened to heroes. And you know what the funny thing is? You know what makes me laugh while I'm on the other side? You're just going to close this book and buy something else to fill that empty big void we've left created in your life. This is my face while I'm fucking you in the ass."
And it's a full page of him making this obnoxious face.
Old face.
Yeah.
The end.
The end.
Yeah,
Big cap.
mercifully.
And the thing is, I got so mad at this end because the idea of this is the secret history of the world where there was superheroes and the supervillains won and reshaped reality to give everyone these mundane existences that are boring without the vibrant colors and mystifying magic of superheroes should be a really cool concept. But it's done so poorly at this end that I'm like, fuck you guys.
It's barely even addressed in the story. It's not really a theme of the story.
Yeah, that's the thing is that's the best part of the whole story, and it's barely a part of the story.
Yeah. So, final thoughts. Josiano.
This is the worst thing I've ever read. It is, and I said at the start, would y'all recommend this? Yes, I would, because it is the worst thing I've ever read.
Yeah.
And it's something to behold. It's something, until we get to Ryan's point that he's going to make, that I don't know if I'd ever, read again. That ending makes me not want to buy another Mark Millar book ever again.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be doing Mark Millar books from now on because
I have to buy them.
A lot of them are like this book.
He is the only writer who's repeated for the show, and this is his 3rd episode.
We have only 11 episodes or something right now.
Yeah.
It's just because I love Trouble. I love his Spider-Man. Like, there's a lot of Mark Millar that I love,
He could be a great writer.
and then there's this, and I don't understand how they can be the same person.
Yeah.
Like, it is fascinating to me that like, and here's the thing when you're like, what's the message of this book? And like, I'm like, I don't think there was one.
Yeah.
I think this was just like it. And to his credit, he made this and he got people to publish
He
it.
finished it. To his credit, this is a thing that exists.
No, but like he made this, and we paid money for it
Yeah.
collectively. Like we paid.
He got a movie made out of this. He got
Yeah.
a movie deal out
I'm
of this.
sure he made a shit ton of money off this book.
Yeah, like, so I can't hate on him for this because like he's like, I want to make this book about this terrible person, and he made this book about this terrible person.
he doesn't,
who
like-
becomes a more
yeah.
terrible person,
Yeah.
and it's bizarre. And like I've read some of his thoughts, like not on this book specifically, but like when he made Ultimate Captain America, and he's like, it's supposed to be a satire on like military like politics and
Yeah.
stuff. And it's supposed to not inspire, like it's supposed to be like the dark side of the military, kind of.
Yeah, but there is other inspiring things going on in
Yeah.
those stories.
No, but like, how could he be so nuanced with that and then
Yeah.
make this? It was my point.
Because he had to meet with an editor, and the editor said, "Don't be so Mark Millar." Probably.
Or who knows, maybe he just has more of an affinity for superheroes, and when it's other people's characters, he cares more about them. I don't know.
No, but like, when you're like, what's the point of this book? And I'm like, I don't think there is one.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a damn point in this book.
It's funny because that scene where he says, "Nah, I'm just fucking with you." I laughed at that scene because I was like, "You literally basically said to the reader, there is no point to this book."
Yeah.
Because that's basically what he said.
There's
in
no
that scene.
arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why I recommend it though, is because there is.
I actually had the exact same thoughts you had when I read this book. Then I watched the movie, and I'm like, after I watched the movie, I'm like, there's no reason to read this book at all now. Everything good is in the movie.
What good is in.
Like the fucking concept of like, oh, secret society, fucking, there's destiny, shit like
Okay, that brings me to what I wanted to say.
that. Yeah.
So, I haven't seen this movie, but the other Mark Millar movie I mentioned earlier was Kingsman.
Yeah.
Secret Service. And I saw that movie and I absolutely loved it. And actually, I loved it so much that during the credits, I bought the book. And I had read the book, you know, whenever it got in the mail, before I read Wanted, even though it was written after. And it's the same fucking book. And I don't think Kingsman's a very good book either. It's better than this. But Kingsman is about a guy whose dad was a member of a secret organization who took off when he was young, and he's this little shit stain in like the working class of England, and his dad took off, and his dad gets killed in the line of duty for the secret society, and this guy mentors him and takes him under his wing and trains him, and like he, you know, is filling his dad's role, and it's the same fucking book, and it makes me hate this book even more, and it makes me hate Kingsman even more too. 'Cause Kingsman was boring, this book was offensive to me, but like, how do you write the same book twice and make two fantastic movies out of them?
Maybe it's like it's what's the Woody Allen quote? Someone was like, "Why do you keep making the same movie over and over again?" And he's like, "Cause one day I'll get it right."
That's what Mark Millar's doing. He's writing the
guess,
same book over and over again.
but, like-
He's gonna do this right one day.
One day he's gonna get the concept of like piece of shit middle class person getting picked up by a secret society and becoming more of a piece of shit.
Yes, but like, I've never read two books that were more note for note. It is more note for note than adaptations. It seems to me like Kingsman is more like Wanted than the Wanted movie is.
Yeah.
Like the book Kingsman, and it has the same dialogue, it has the same like characters, and it's just, I don't get how you do that. So to me, I can't say that these are even good bad, because I was so bored by this and Kingsman. Like,
This
the
book is so offensive.
Just
I
watch the
forgot
movies
about the
instead.
part where he rapes people.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's a terrible book.
to be fair, Ryan, because I called him out for liking.
Wait, no, I'm bringing this up.
Okay, bring it up.
Sly. So you guys have all heard Sly shit on me a bunch of times of like, oh, when Ryan was in college, he liked Cry for Justice because Ryan's an idiot. When Ryan first saw Green Lantern, he wanted to like it so bad that he pretended it was good. Okay.
Did we bring that up yet in this podcast?
I did. Whoops. I'm an asshole who sometimes likes shitty things until finally I realize they're shitty. I'm the kind of fan who wants things to be good so bad. And I know by the time they make it to the show, I hate on things. But like, I try to like things so bad. And Sly gives me hell for it, because some of the things I like are bad things. And Sly makes us read this book. He makes us pay for them.
I don't mind giving this my money. I don't know if I'll give any of his other, like, I'm not gonna go out and buy Kingsman.
Yeah.
Like, or
If you're dying to read it, you can borrow
never
it. You can
go-
have it.
You can have it.
No, I have a shelf of things that I put by my bed, so I'm like, look at the shame that you've done.
I might just like,
So I wake up in the middle of the night and think of a bad dream, and like from a nightmare, I look at my shelf and I'm like, it could be worse. I could like these books.
I kind of want to read. I'll save it for the recommendations.
So you're saying about me giving you shit?
So yeah, so Sly gives me shit. Sly makes us buy this book, and I read it today, and I hated it, and I was so upset. And then Sly goes, this was one of the first graphic novels I ever read, and I actually really liked it. Fuck you, Sly.
In my defense,
You're an asshole.
I was.
In your defense,
I was
fuck
right
you.
in the demographic for this book. I was the edgelord shithead fucker.
Edgelord shit.
The asshole that no one likes, the teenager no one likes. I was the demographic for this book.
You were Wesley.
I was Wesley Gibson. I loved Eminem at the time, so come on.
So you know what? I'm glad that you went from a teenager that nobody likes to an adult that a good bad adult that I can ironically appreciate.
So
I have two things for the
Okay.
letters page. So we got a message about our Batman vs Superman episode that it's not really a question, but it's an addendum to some things that we might have missed. Joe and I disagree if we missed these or not.
Yes.
So Tony says,
the tiger.
yeah, Tony the Tiger says that
Batman vs Superman is great.
he says, I think you guys missed a big part of Superman's funeral. Superman's not dead, which we did reference, but not nearly enough. Just like the movie. He said, did you not hear his heartbeat before the dirt started floating? Just like when Batman dies in Dark Knight Returns and Clark hears his heart starts beating again. So apparently when the heartbeat starts, that's...
But Batman faked his death.
Yeah.
That's just Superman being alive.
Yeah.
What if Superman's an asshole and is pretending to be dead?
So he could get 2 funerals. So...
God, look at all this love they can give me.
Also, in that one crazy unnecessary dream, Batman grabs Robin
That was
at the
wait,
end.
time out. That was super necessary. That was all about Jack Kirby's Fourth World.
Okay, yeah, we know, Joe. We get it.
Do we, Ryan?
Yes, I'm sorry. So, in that one crazy unnecessary dream, Batman grabs Robin at the end, and he goes on to elaborate that even though it's not explicitly Robin, it looks a lot like Carrie Kelly from the Dark Knight Returns Robin. Joe says that that's total bullshit.
Wait, what? Flashback?
In the did I say flashback? In the dream in the desert,
Yeah.
he grabs someone that looks just
The
like
Fourth
Carrie
World.
Kelly at the end before he wakes up. So, is that a Robin homage? I don't know.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
And
Is she in the Robin costume?
I guess not.
Then it's now Robin homage.
Okay. Otherwise, good job. I missed some things in the movie. Then again, my wife was snoring through the whole thing.
There we go.
So,
I'm
think
sorry.
that's-
I don't mean to belittle this, like any of these points here.
So just wanted to say that maybe we missed some stuff. That's
Maybe
good.
No.
Maybe
Like,
we're-
no. Carrie Kelly would make total sense
Yeah.
in this movie and only this movie, or at least for her to be in that, with this whole thing being a Dark Knight Returns
Yeah.
homage. So that's not bad, but like it. I wouldn't call it a Robin homage though. I wouldn't say
Okay,
that.
that's
I
fair.
would not say Robin is in this movie.
Well, he has his suit in the movie, and apparently his suit has a halberd on it, so that means Robin probably kill people too.
Yeah, almost certainly. How could you not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second letter comes from Facebook, and it's from Sean. This is a question.
Okay.
Do you think that A-listers can be legacy heroes? Characters like Batman and Superman sometimes go away for a little while, but will almost always come back. Do you guys think it's possible to fully replace an A-list character, or if there are any examples of an A-lister character retiring or dying and staying dead, or is rest only for B, C, D, and F-listers, who editorial can let writers change without fear of fan outcry like Manhunter or any JSA member, pretty much? So, when we talk about legacy characters, that's like when a character dies and a new one takes up the mantle, just like Wesley in Wanted.
Not very appropriate we're doing this
So, like,
episode.
for example, Robin. We talked a lot about
Yeah.
Robin just now. Dick Grayson was Robin from 1941, whenever he debuted, to the mid-'80s, and he's never gone back to being Robin. I would personally say Robin's an A-lister.
Yeah. I mean,
He was replaced by Jason Todd, who was replaced by Tim Drake, who was replaced by Damian Wayne.
Robin's an exception that proves the rule to me though, because he grew out of his role. Like most of Robins are really young, and Dick he grew out of the role. Like if you
Yeah,
ever
Dick was allowed to grow up out of the role.
But at
Most
the
characters aren't-
time, Robin didn't have to be a kid. He was a teen, and then he was an early 20s character. The fact that
he became an adult though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but he was allowed to grow up where I don't think Tim Drake and Damien ever will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So do you think that maybe at one point A-listers were allowed to be replaced, and
Oh,
now that
definitely.
ship
Yeah,
has
the
sailed?
80s.
The 80s and 90s. Right?
I think DC has more of a legacy aspect because in 1955 their whole company rebooted and they
Yeah.
had a new Flash, a new Green Lantern, a new, Atom, all these characters, but still stayed Bruce Wayne as Batman, Diana as Wonder Woman, and Clark Kent as Superman. So do you think we'll ever get full legacies for like the A-listers?
Not all of them. I could see maybe one, but they'd have to A, commit to it, and B, deal with the outrageous fan backlash that would come with it.
Do you know when I think it'll happen?
The Marvel movies.
If the Marvel movies, when the main canon actors don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Like if Chris Evans retires as Cap, they could either recast Captain America, which good luck finding someone as perfect as Chris Evans, or they could have the Falcon or Bucky take up the mantle. And I think once the movie universe shows that it can work in a mainstream level and have a Bucky as Captain America movie and still make a bunch of money, I think the comics will be more progressive about it.
Yeah.
Or more permanent about
It's
it.
something you ever want to see, though?
I love legacies.
I know
it's
you
my
do.
favorite thing about comic books. It's something that only exists in comic books because I guess Doctor Who is the only other exception I could think of,
Yeah.
where you have things actually replace over decades and decades and actually kind of matter. That, DC has kind of pulled back that in recent years.
I think they regretted the decision to do that in the 80s and 90s because I hear a lot of people talk about with like you divide the fan base when you make legacy characters because not everyone who's a Kyle Rayner fan is a Hal Jordan fan
And vice versa,
Green
yeah.
Lantern.
Here's the thing, though. Like, I thought it was while it may have seemed a mistake at the beginning, they battled through it to the point where Wally West was accepted as Flash, as the
Yeah.
Flash, and Kyle Rayner was. Even though that's the thing when I said like you can do this, but you have to commit and deal with the fan.
Like I said, they were willing to fight through in the 90s, but I think as time went on, maybe it's because a lot of fanboys of Barry and all these older characters became editors and writers. But I think in general they feel like we made a mistake. We should just stick with the iconic version and stick with that from now on.
But don't you think when the
When the
fanboys from the 90s become editors and writers, there might be a big return to that kind of new legacy aspect?
That's gonna be fascinating to see.
I think
And I even like legacy characters.
Yeah, they're like, I know you're less great on them. They're like my favorite.
I've been on the wrong side of the legacy character.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to see my characters get a send off. Like, I love reading my favorite characters, and to have a genre such as comics where these characters can like grow with me and
Yeah.
for years and years and years. Not that there's anything wrong with characters having set endings and going off into the sunset,
Yeah.
but I like having an endless amount of Juggernaut stories
Yeah.
and things like that.
I think legacies are something that, for the D-listers, even though it makes me sad sometimes, you can tell such interesting stories that you can't tell in any other medium.
Oh, that's a very fair point.
I agree with Ryan that it's going to be based on the movies. Whoever the movies pick will be whoever gets replaced in the books. And we will have temporary replacements in the books like they have now for Thor and Captain America. Maybe they'll stick around, maybe they won't, but I don't think
Well,
they'll
Captain America's already going back.
Yeah.
But Thor is not.
Yeah, but
As we know.
he's back to being young and being active, but he's not Captain.
But I think he's going to be.
Yeah, but like Sam Wilson's also Captain, and Sam Wilson has the Circle Shield.
Yeah.
So really, who's the more Captain?
Who's the real captain?
Yeah.
Who's the real?
Okay, so before we move on to recommendations, just want to mention if anybody else has any letters. If you want to write us in, our Facebook page, Divisive Issues, at Divisive Issues on Twitter, divisiveissues@gmail.com. And we've been getting a lot of ratings on iTunes lately, which is super awesome.
Love us.
Yeah, so if you guys could keep that up, any ratings or reviews would be great. And that's basically all I got to say. We're on iTunes.
Love us.
Love us. Okay, so.
Recommendations.
I you know mine. Go watch Wanted movie. It's fucking great. It is There is no reason to read the book. The movie is better in every single possible way. It's amazing. It's such a great movie. Go watch it.
Okay, my recommendation is qualified because I hated it the first time I read it, but now I really like it. If you like this kind of really hyper-sexual, dark, bizarrely confusing story, Grant Morrison's The Filth is a book that I really didn't like the first time, but after I read The Invisibles, I really started to appreciate it. It's something that I would recommend taking slow and reading a couple times. I think it does the kind of what if the world was run by a secret organization of assholes a lot more interestingly than Wanted does. And it has a beautiful deluxe hardcover now that I would recommend. But go in knowing that it is a tough read. It is not for a new Grant Morrison fan at all. But I think it's a really cool book that does what this tries to do immensely better. What about you, Joe?
You know what? I'm gonna go against myself here because I can't think of anything worse to recommend than this.
So you can't troll because this is
I
the
can't
worst
troll.
thing.
This is the troll recommendation. I feel so weird saying. Now I feel weird saying because
Sometimes
I
you
never
just
like
recommend good
no,
things.
but I never like to be negative. But like this is a book that's hard to
Yeah.
feel a lot of positive about. I'm gonna recommend The Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
Oh, that's a good book.
It's the total opposite of this.
It is a villain centric book that is a lot of fun. It does villain protagonists in a way that you like them.
Yeah.
It is everything I like about comics in a lot of
I
ways.
can attest that it
It's
is
actually a really good
fantastic.
example of
Yeah.
you hear villains that are villains, and they're the protagonists, but you root for them because like a lot of some of them are like, kind of kind of pathetic.
Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah, exactly. A lot of them kind of are what Wesley should be
Yeah,
if he wasn't a complete dirtbag.
because they expect us to feel bad for Wesley, but we don't. But we do actually feel bad for the characters of Spirit Force of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And you want to see them succeed.
Yeah.
Where you never want to see anyone in this book succeed.
Yeah. In fact, I'm actively disappointed when they do succeed in Wanted.
Yeah. So that's my recommendation.
And also, one thing that I feel like I'm the only one who could bring this up without being super arrogant. I want to plug some stuff that you guys have been doing that's really, really great. Sly just released his first graphic novel. It's The Smoke Man. And I read it yesterday, and it's really good.
Thank you.
So
He's beaming right now. You can't see it, but Sly is very
Sly
happy.
did everything. He wrote it, inked it, penciled it, not in that order, and lettered it. And it's
After I started doing charcoal marks on it.
yeah, it's really great. It's on Amazon. It's called The Smoke Man. Everyone should read it. And Joe has some issues that I guess Sly also drew. So
Yes.
that are available. Are they available online at all?
Tales of Happenstance?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all on jciano.wordpress.com.
Okay. And they're also available at Escape Pod Comics.
Yes.
On Long Island, if
yeah,
anyone's local.
I'll be doing a thing. Free Comic Book Day at Escape Pod Comics. I'm going to be there. I'm going to have the print issues for 3 and 4. 1 and 2 are at the shop right now, and then 3 and 4 are going to make their debut.
And they're also fantastic. It's 2 stories in each issue,
Yeah.
so you get twice as much for your money.
If you want to see if the great voice matches the pretty face, it does, and you can come see me.
If you want to see us put our money where our mouth is and write books,
No, if you want to see them put your money in their mouths, give them money.
Yes.
And also, all of this stuff is available on our website, Novel Graphics. Is there a hyphen?
yes,
yeah.
Novel-graphics.com.
Yeah.
And that has all this stuff on it.
It does. It has all the Tales of Happenstance issues.
Cool.
So that's our episode.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on this shit-filled adventure.
This shitty book.
Oh boy. Well, I'm Shithead.
I'm Fuckwit.
And I'm Ryan Lynch.
There we go.